David, it's Brian Kenny. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Let's get right into it now by looking at specific tools, and we have new ways of measuring these things, so it's not quite the old school way. Let's start with contact. How would you measure contact, and who's the best contact hitter out there?
So this is one of the best things we can do with the Statcast data. We can look at just who hits the ball hard the most, and I think that's a great way to look at the hit tool, the traditional hit tool. And when you look at that, DJ LeMahieu just stands out far and away at the top of this free agent class. I mean, more than 1 out of every 5 times he swings, the result is hard contact, and that just means 95 miles an hour or harder off the bat. And you know why that's good is because he's not just hitting the ball hard; he's also hitting the ball a lot. So he doesn't swing and miss a lot, and he hits the ball hard. And when you do that a lot over the course of a season, that just gets you a lot more hits.
So you're not looking just at contact; it's the quality of the contact, or do you mix the two together?
It's a mix. That's what's so good about this particular stat, the hard hit per swing. It's quality and quantity. So it's looking at how hard he hits the ball, 95 or harder, which is where you get hits. And then it's also how often he hits the ball. So that's what kind of separates him. So you look at some of his Yankees teammates like Giancarlo Stanton or Gary Sanchez. When they hit the ball really hard, but they also swing and miss a ton. So they can be kind of an all or nothing type of hitter. So you look at LeMahieu as compared to those guys, he hits the ball hard a lot. And he hits the ball a lot, period. So that just ends up with, that's why he wins the batting title.
That's an interesting point. Oh, and he called it a batting title, too. Ken Rosenthal is thrilled. How about power?
I love the batting title.
I know I'm nostalgic, too. How about power?
So there are a couple guys with a really good power tool. Marcell Ozuna stands out a lot because, he hits the ball really hard and really far. He this is his hard hit rate on contact, which means, when he squares it up, he really squares it up. He led the majors in home run distance in 2020, easily more than anyone else. I mean, he hits 469-foot home runs. He barrels the ball a lot. That's not just hard contact. It's hard contact that you drive in the air. So the type of ball that's going to be a home run or an extra base hit. He does that great. Nelson Cruz does that really well. George Springer does that really well. But Marcell Ozuna, he really, really rakes.
All right, how about speed then? And how do you measure that? I know there's different ways of measuring that.
Yeah, so we have a Statcast metric, sprint speed, which is just how fast the player runs on the bases in his fastest 1 second window. So Major League average sprint speed is 27 feet per second, and Cesar Hernandez really stands out in this. He averaged 28.5 feet per second in 2020. He's been basically around the top 10% of Major League Baseball in sprint speed every season of Statcast tracking. Overall, for the entire 6 seasons, he's over 29 feet per second, which is really close to the elite mark, which is 30 feet per second. So he stands out along with some guys like Billy Hamilton, D. Strange Gordon. But the difference is Cesar Hernandez, he's a regular player. He's an everyday player, makes a difference every game with his speed.
Now you get into fielding and Andrelton Simmons, who has long been at the top of every leaderboard. Do you think that's still the case with Simmons, that he still deserves to be there?
Oh, I think it's definitely still the case. I think, you can't really judge him too much on his injury-shortened 2020 season, but if you look at, his career, his defensive run save just dwarfs any other player. By Statcast's defense metric, outs above average, he's also just one of the best defensive infielders since we started tracking that. Basically, it's Nick Ahmed and Andrelton Simmons at the top. Then you get guys like Nolan Arenado, Matt Chapman, basically all the guys who you watch and you think to yourself, those guys are the best fielders in the league. The data that we have agrees with that perfectly.
All right, let's get to pitching now. And let me ask you, go about it in a different way, because you go pitch by pitch. Was there anything that surprised you? There's Trevor Bauer, I know, is all over that, especially with the breaking stuff. But did anybody surprise you that was at the top of your leaderboard?
Well, I think Liam Hendriks has been a pleasant surprise over the last couple of seasons, because he kind of came out of nowhere. And now his fastball is just one of the best among relievers, which is one of the best around. And that's why we chose him for the best fastball in our best pitching tools section of the story. I mean, he has one of the most rising fastballs in the league. He was top 5 in that rising fastball movement. And his velocity has jumped way up since he, started pitching out of the back end of the A's bullpen in 2019. And he's really impressive. The way he uses his fastball and tunnels it with his slider and his curveball. The way he attacks the strike zone, he's kind of like an old school type, bringing back the fastball count. He throws a lot of fastballs early in the count until he gets to 2 strikes, and then he's kind of even fastball breaking ball.
Okay. Anything else stand out? Breaking stuff. What about Bauer? What did you find with Trevor Bauer? How many different pitches was he on top in?
Yeah. Yeah, what really stands out about Bauer is his pitch design and how he makes his curveball and his slider do exactly what he wants with it. So, you look at his curveball, elite vertical movement. It drops 11 inches more than an average curveball. That's the best vertical movement of any curveball in baseball. And then you look at his slider, basically it breaks horizontally about 8-9 inches above average, and he's like top 5 in the league in horizontal movement on his slider too. So the way he uses his breaking balls in tandem and then mixes those with his four-seamer, which is another great rising fastball. He kind of does everything, and his cutter and his whole repertoire. He just mixes and matches everything, and it's all so good.
All right. It's all up there now. It's on MLB.com. David Adler, again, in the research team there at MLB.com with a new way of measuring these things for free agents. David, great having you on the show. Thank you very much.
Great being here. Thank you for having me.